What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about a particular skill that is incredibly misunderstood today, but it is a skill that every decent person absolutely needs and needs to be capable of doing, and needs to be capable of doing it the right way, and that is the ability to commit great acts of violence. I'm sure you've all heard of the parable of the sheep, the wolf, and the sheepdog. And it's actually something that, for any of you who have seen American Sniper, you know that there's a scene where the father talks to his children about this parable, explaining that the sheep is essentially symbolism for those who do not realize the evil that exists in the world and would not be able to defend themselves were it to come knocking on their door. And that it is incumbent on the sheepdog to protect the sheep and to fight against the wolf. The concept of the sheepdog first came from Lieutenant Colonel Grossman in his book on combat. And there's actually something here I wanted to read. And this comes from the book. It is an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. And I'll put the link in the description for you guys. He says it better than anyone else. If you have no capacity for violence, then you are a healthy, productive citizen, a sheep. If you have a capacity for violence and no empathy for your fellow citizens, then you have defined an aggressive sociopath, a wolf. But what if you have a capacity for violence and a deep love for your fellow citizens? Then you are a sheepdog, a warrior, someone who is walking the hero's path. Grossman goes on to say that, or goes on to explain, that the wolves represent those who would prey on the innocent. Those are hardened criminals. Those are active shooters. Those are terrorists. And that the sheepdog are those individuals that would confront that evil head on and address it and fight it with violence. With that said, he goes on to explain that a sheepdog cannot take out its teeth. If you consider yourself a sheepdog, if you consider yourself one that would protect the weak and the innocent, you need to be able to have that ability and, I would say, proclivity to, at the flip of a switch, go from peaceful to violent. There's a quote, and I tried to look it up. I tried to see who was the author of this quote, and I couldn't, but it is fantastic. And it goes on to explain that you cannot be a peaceful individual unless you have the capability to commit great violence. And if you do not have that ability, you are not peaceful. You are harmless. Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist in the YouTube sensation, expounded on that a little, saying that a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that ability, that proclivity to violence, under control. I think one of the greatest examples of this can be seen in the film The Patriot with Mel Gibson, where just an ordinary man is trying to live out his life peacefully with his family. And this man, by the name of Benjamin Martin, when there starts to be talk of the revolution, is adamantly against it because he does not want to put his family through that. But when all is said and done and the war comes knocking on his doorstep, he is absolutely savage. And I think that's an important aspect. We don't ever seek a fight. And if at all possible, we should avoid one. But if one is forced upon us, we will do whatever it takes. You should do whatever it takes to not only survive, but to win. A word of caution to all this would be to make sure that you remain as the sheepdog. As you've probably heard, and you can probably figure out, the sheepdog shares much more of the same characteristics with the wolf than he does with the sheep. The sheepdog has teeth. The sheepdog can bite. The sheepdog can hurt the sheep if he's not careful. And it doesn't take much. All it takes is losing one's cool to turn into a wolf. Violence in of itself is an amoral act, I believe. And it is only the intent behind the individual who is performing it determines what makes it evil and what makes it righteous. When you commit violence, are you committing violence in out of anger, out of emotion, out of passion? Or are you committing violence on behalf of those who cannot defend themselves and because you love your fellow men? But you need to be ready. And you need to think about, if something occurs in your presence where someone or multiple people are being hurt, what are you going to do and what are you capable of? You need to think about that. And your mind needs to go to those dark places, because you will not go to where your mind has not already gone. That's just a simple fact. So think about that. Play those what if games and understand that there may be a time in your life where you do not have any other choice. And you need to think to yourself, am I ready? And I hope you are. Go out there, be safe, be prepared, be savage, and be decent.